Hello, and welcome back to Ask Pallavi a Question. I'm Pallavi Ahluwalia, Managing Attorney at Ahluwalia Law Offices, and today we are addressing some of the most urgent immigration developments we've seen in recent weeks, ranging from mass F1 visa revocations to shocking visa fraud case right here in Dallas to what Nepali nationals losing TPS need to know right now. With me, as always, is Sara Alvey, our front desk manager, and the first point of contact for so many of you who call in. And before you get to speak to me, Sarah, let's dive in.
Thank you, Paula. The phone's been ringing off the hook with Nepali TPS holders. What happens after June 24th? Do they have to leave immediately?
June 24th, 2025 is the final day of protection under TPS for Nepal. We had a Nepali citizen who had come here to see us just a few days back, and she's been in the country since early 2000s and utilized TPS a bit later, but she thought that there would be something that we could do last minute for her. And I say this to everyone that there is no automatic grace period that's going to come on. If you haven't switched to another immigration status, you will be out of status and you may end up accruing unlawful presence, which can trigger 3 or 10-year bars to your re-entry. That may not mean that ICE can show up to your doorstep the next day, but you are making yourselves legally vulnerable.
So, what legal options do they actually have?
Great question, Sarah. There are potential paths, though each one of them depends on everyone's individual situation. There is asylum, and this is only if you fear persecution in Nepal due to your identity, your politics, your religion, and social group. You may still apply, but if you've been in the TPS for many years, and if you took a TPS, that did pause your 1 year deadline. We do encourage people who qualify for asylum to file as soon as possible. Of course, family-based green cards, I think most people know about these. And if you have a US citizen spouse or a child who is over 21, then you may qualify for this. Now, if you are applying based on a green card holder, just be aware that green card holders under the F2A category are not current right now. So that's not the advice I can give. Now, the employment-based options under the perm-based process, it's a bit behind, cannot get some quick results from that. NIW EB2 that people ask me for still fall under a retrogressed category. So I would say EB1A that's current or an O1 visa. And now for this one, you have to be the top 1% to 10% in your profession. There are also some humanitarian options if you've been a victim of a crime, say U visa, T visa. They can also offer you some long-term protection. If you're under 21 and have been abused, neglected, or abandoned by a parent, you also may be eligible. So each one of these have some pros and cons and whether they even apply to you. The sooner you act, the more choices you'll have, and you have to first kindly be aware of your deadlines.
Okay. The next one is urgent. We've had several calls from Chinese students whose F1 visas were suddenly revoked. What's going on with those?
Yeah, unfortunately, dozens of Chinese nationals, very many in STEM fields, were notified by the US Embassy that their student visas had been revoked under Section 212A3C, which relates to national security and foreign policy concerns. The students, unfortunately, are being linked without prior notice to military affiliated Chinese universities. And of course, as we know, and as it's developing, this is a major development in the US-China relationship. But if you're impacted by this, I would tell people, please do not leave without speaking to an immigration attorney. If your visa is revoked, it may be impossible to return at this point, but you may be eligible for maybe a change in status, reinstatement, asylum, and then also the legal aspect of a court agreeing that this is unfair to you if that did not qualify for you. So there may be some things that you may have some recourse even within the country. While you're in the country, a visa revocation will not impact you. You have to be aware of that. Telling all nationals from China who are impacted by this, the students, to keep records of your studies, your contacts, your communication, and you really will have to have some proof that shows your good faith as a student.
Should Indian and other international students be worried at this point?
Possibly. While this revocation wave is targeting Chinese nationals, It signals that visa revocations based on foreign policy are being pursued aggressively. So we've already seen that there has been a lot of tightening for the F, M, and J visa categories. And especially when it comes to dual intent statuses or ties to certain institutions. Indian nationals also at tech schools or in defense adjacent research should pay close attention to their DS 160 answers and CVIS compliance even when you're applying to come into the country.
Okay. Let's talk about the Dallas law firm raid. We've had frantic calls from clients worried they were unknowingly caught up in this. Can you explain what happened?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, again, some of our own may impact, and I would say that join the Dallas Bar Association's Legal Ethics Committee, which we've been running for the last several years, or I have been involved in that. Ethics is a very important part of how we run a legal practice. In this case, for this particular law firm, federal authorities arrested Abdul Hadi Murshid and Mohammad Salam Nasir and shut down the law office of D. Robert Jones PLC and Reliable Ventures for running a multi-year immigration fraud scheme. They submitted fraudulent cases and fabricated a bunch of things, payroll records, almost like a Ponzi scheme, ran money from here to there. They really did the law profession a misfavor. And if you use their services and didn't knowingly participate in fraud, you're a victim. And speak to an immigration attorney. And maybe if there is a case that you can help and that you were involved with that could help your immigration status, you may need to consider that, even if it is as a victim. And that's the only thing. I feel bad for a lot of people who are stuck in this area right now.
So what should someone who used the firm's services do right now?
Don't panic and don't withdraw your case without advice. Gather all your documents, your receipt, your petitions, your emails relating to your application. And then this can help anyone assess, a lawyer can assess whether these are legitimate or not. Depending on where you are in your process, you may be able to even file a non-pro-tunc application to get to another status while you're trying to figure out what's going on. So don't delay this. I'm sure that if you've gotten notice of this, you need to do this quickly.
There's been a lot. What final message do you want to leave for our community today?
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Whether you are a TPS holder facing expiration or you're a student who's dealing with revocation or you're a victim of immigration fraud, the key is to act with urgency, honesty, and legal support. There are real options, but time is critical. Don't try to navigate these waters without getting proper counsel. And talk to a qualified attorney, verify sources before you act, and know that you're not alone in this. Thank you for tuning in today to ask Pallavi a question. You all know that we have an associated little section on our website that says ask Pallavi a question. And if it is a quick question, I will attempt to answer it for you and you would get through our front desk. And mind you, the question should be very short so that I can quickly do that. Otherwise, you will be asked to set up an appointment with Sara. We've covered a lot today, from the end of TPS for Nepal and what your legal options are to F1 visa revocations affecting Chinese students and the alarming fraud case here in Dallas that obviously has disappointed and led a lot of people in the limbo. So if you or anyone you know is affected by any of these issues, kindly welcome to reach out to us. But this segment is meant to be more to inform you, and you're welcome to subscribe and share this episode with someone who may need to get this information. All right, all the best, and we look forward to being back.